Kindergarten was supposed to be fun, exciting, and full of new possibilities. But for me, a shy little 5-year-old, it was terrifying. A few weeks before kindergarten began, all the new students had to take a standard eye and ear exam. You know, read back the letters you see to the nurse, raise your hand when you hear the beep. The good news? My eyesight is perfectly fine. Bad news? I have severe hearing loss in my right ear. I thought I was perfectly fine. Even though I always had to sit closer to the TV, I constantly asked people to repeat, and loud noises hurt my ears so bad it brought me to tears. But I didn't know I was so different, and I didn't know it was such a big deal. The school, however, did know it was a big deal. They took immediate action, putting me in my own private reading lessons because they believed I would be completely deaf before I could read. These lessons happened to interfere with my first grade class's scheduled gym time. And instead of moving the reading forward or back an hour, they decided to put me in a gym class with 4 special needs boys. I had never felt so out of place in my life. My peers saw me less as a classmate and more as a stranger. So I had less of a chance to make new friends. So I felt completely isolated, and I was worried I would never be normal. Social isolation, especially at such a young age, has negative impacts. Deaf children are less likely to make friends because it is simply too difficult. According to a study done by Oxford Brookes University, the hearing children do consider befriending the deaf children, but it is simply too much of a hassle. When the children were asked why they hadn't befriended the deaf, the reasons ranged from sometimes they don't listen to it just isn't worth it. It is common knowledge that hearing children prefer hearing friends, those who they can easily connect and communicate with. Isolation has damaging effects on everyone. Naturally, surrounding ourselves with others and fostering close relationships is the antidote to living happy, healthy, and well. Social isolation can lead to depression, anxiety, and it is detrimental to a child's development. Deaf children are more likely to be isolated, therefore they are more at risk to these problems. According to a study done by the National Institute of Public Health, found that 32.4% of the female respondents that they interviewed with hearing loss before the age of 3 showed signs of mental distress. But are deaf schools better? For some, yes, and for others, no. It is possible for deaf children to succeed in public schools if they have the equipment they need. And if the school doesn't have enough money, the student is less likely to get the things they need to thrive. According to an article in Redefine magazine, there are pros and cons to both systems. For example, deaf schools have smaller class sizes for more one-on-one time with each student. They have less extracurricular activities than public schools. And public schools have higher reading levels because the deaf children are held to the same standard as everyone else. But the deaf schools' classrooms are better tailored to their students. The best pro to having a child at a deaf school is they aren't alone. Many deaf children leave public schools, their chance of normalcy being taken away to find people like them. Children without hearing problems have a hard enough time in school. Add hours of speech therapy, reading lessons, and not being able to communicate with your peers, it can take a toll on you. According to Nina Walters, deaf adolescents not only struggle finding friends, but when they have them, they don't feel secure in their friendships. Deaf children are always going to feel different and not in a good way. This is because being deaf isn't common among children. And when you hear of hearing aids, you usually associate it with your grandparents, not a girl in your 4th grade class. 30 out of 1,000 school children have hearing loss. And our schools have been catering to the 970 hearing students and have let the remaining 30 slip through the cracks. I believe that everyone should be educated to help the deaf. At least all educators should learn ASL, or American Sign Language. According to studies done by Aurora College, They show from early to post-secondary school, knowing several languages can ensure teachers effectively communicate with their students. ASL is one of these languages. Students should at least have a choice to learn ASL. It can help communication between the deaf and the hearing students, and it will help the mainstream deaf students from feeling isolated from their peers. And some states are already helping. Many states consider ASL a foreign language that students can take as a class instead of French or Spanish. And other states are passing legislation on the problem. I think this is one of the many steps that we, as a country, need to take to help our deaf community. And I think we can do it. Thank you.